Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to study the literary style of Charles Dickens. So let us begin. We will here talk about the style in which Charles Dickens wrote his novels, short stories, and other works. Dickens' approach to novel is influenced by various things, including the picaresque novel tradition, melodrama, and the novel of sensibility. According to Aykroyd, other than these, perhaps the most important literary influence on him was derived from the fables of the Arabian Nights. Satire and irony are central to the picaresque novel. Comedy is also an aspect of British picaresque novel tradition of Lawrence Sterne, Henry Fielding, and Tobias Smollett. Fielding's Tom Jones was a major influence on the 19th century novelists, including Dickens, who read it in his youth and named a son Henry Fielding Dickens after him. Influenced by Gothic fiction, a literary genre that began with The Castle of Otranto, 1764, written by Horace Walpole, Dickens incorporated Gothic imagery, setting, and plot devices in his works. Victorian Gothic moved from castles and abysses into contemporary urban environments, in particular London, such as Dickens's Oliver Twist and Bleak House. The Jilted Bride, Miss Havisham from Great Expectations, is one of Dickens's best known Gothic creations. Miss Havisham was living in a ruined mansion. Her bridal gown effectively doubles as her funeral shroud. No other writer had such a profound influence on Dickens as that of William Shakespeare. On Dickens's veneration of Shakespeare, Alfred Harbach wrote in his book A Kind of Power, the Shakespeare Dickens Analogy, 1975, that he writes, no one is better qualified to recognize literary genius than a literary genius. Regarding Shakespeare as the great master whose plays were an unspeakable source of delight, Dickens's lifelong affinity with the playwright means William Shakespeare, included seeing theatrical productions of his plays in London and putting on amateur dramatics with friends in his early years. In 1838, Dickens travelled to Stratford upon Avon and visited the house in which Shakespeare was born, leaving his autograph in the visitor's book. Dickens would draw on this experience in his next work, Nicholas Nickleby, 1838 and 1839, expressing the strength of feeling experienced by visitors to Shakespeare's birthplace. The character Mrs. Witterly states, I don't know how it is, but after you have seen the place and written your name in the little book, somehow or other you seem to be inspired. It kindles up quite a fire within one. Dickens's writing style is marked by a profuse linguistic creativity. Satire flourishing in his gift for caricature is his forte. An earlier reviewer compared him to Hogarth for his keen practical sense of the ludicrous side of life, though he acclaimed mastery of varieties of class idiom may in fact mirror the conventions of contemporary popular theatre. Dickens worked intensively on developing arresting names for his characters that would reverberate with associations for his readers and assist the development of motifs in the storyline, giving what one critic calls an allegorical impetus to the novel's meaning. To cite one of numerous examples, the name Mr. Murdstone in David Copperfield conjures up twin allusions to murder and stony coldness. His literary style is also a mixture of fantasy and realism. His satires of British aristocratic snobbery, he calls one character the noble refrigerator, are often popular. Comparing orphans to stocks and shares, people to tugboats, or dinner party guests to furniture are just some of Dickens's acclaimed flights of fantasy or fancy. On his ability to elicit a response from his works, English screenwriter Sarah Phelps writes, he knew, he, Dickens, knew how to work an audience and how to get them laughing their heads off 1 minute or on the edge of their seats and holding their breath the next. The other thing about Dickens is that he loved telling stories and he loved his characters, even those horrible, mean spirited ones. The author worked closely with his illustrators, supplying them with a summary of the work at the outset and thus ensuring that his characters and settings were exactly how he envisioned them. Dickens briefed the illustrator on the plans for each month's installment so that work could begin before he wrote them. Marcus Stone, illustrator of Our Mutual Friend, recalled that the author Dickens was always ready to describe down to the minutest details the personal characteristics and life history of the creations of his fancy. Dickens employs Cockney English in many of his works, denoting working class Londoners. Cockney grammar appears in terms such as ain't, and consonants in words are frequently omitted, as in er for here and what for what. An example of this usage is in Oliver Twist. The artful Dodger uses Cockney slang, which is juxtaposed, means placed side by side. Juxtaposed means placing side by side with Oliver's proper English when the Dodger repeats Oliver saying seven with seven. So, friends, this is all about the literary style of Charles Dickens. That is all for this lecture. We will meet in the next lecture with another topic. Till then, keep studying.